comparing them to traditional annuities. David, as we were talking before the break, we're looking at living annuities, but let's get some of the key characteristics of living annuities so that our viewers understand exactly what we're talking about here.
Absolutely. First of all, the capital that is part of the living annuity that you plan to set up remains the property, if you like, of the individual, or the annuitant, as we like to call them. So if I decide to invest my living annuity with company A, and after 2 years I'm unhappy and I want to move it to company B, I can do that. So that's one advantage if I'm not happy. Mm-hmm. The second advantage is that the income that I'm going to derive from that living annuity is variable on an annual basis. So as my income needs change, so I can adjust the amount of income or the percentage that I withdraw from that living annuity capital according to my lifestyle
And that
needs.
income would be fixed on a traditional annuity?
The income would be fixed on a traditional annuity, unless I've set that traditional annuity up initially with, for example, a 5% annual increase. Or I've said, in the event of my death, I want my wife to have 50% of what the income was when we were both alive. Mm-hmm. That is contractually built in and ring-fenced, and that will happen, but I can't change that. Mm-hmm. Okay, whereas I can with the living annuity. So let's look at a typical example with a living annuity. Traditionally, the male partner passes away first. That leaves the female partner. Now, you may very well find, for example, 2 or 3 years after retirement, the couple will downsize their property. And maybe the financial requirements on a day-to-day basis reduce as a result. Therefore, the income on the living annuity can be reduced. When the wife is on her own now as a widow, she may not need as much money as she had when there were 2 of them in the house, and so the income can be adjusted accordingly. Mm. When the wife passes away, then if there's money still left in the living annuity, it can go for the benefit of the children, and if there's still money left when the children have passed away, for the benefit of the grandchildren. So it perpetuates, depending on how well managed and how many demands are made on that capital in respect of the income that is required. Mm.
So, do I set up a conventional or do I set up a living annuity? How do I make that distinction?
That would be something that needs to be discussed with a competent financial planner. I would not like to prescribe what a person needs to do. We generally look at all the money going into a living annuity because we manage it very specifically on a regular basis. But if we have a client who is adamant that they want an element of security in their annuity income, we might typically say, well, why don't we take 25% of your capital, mm-hmm. put it into the conventional annuity, which will provide you with a bedrock of income. In other words, let's say we want to pay for your medical aid. Now, medical aids don't increase at 5% per annum, they increase at more than 5%, but nevertheless, a person may feel secure in the knowledge that there is a guaranteed level of income, notwithstanding whatever is going to happen. Then we could take the other 75% and we could say, let's take this money, let's put this money into a living annuity, and let's manage it correctly for your benefit. That may be a decision, but then again, and it sounds as if I'm obfuscating this, but what it really means is that it is up to the individual and their lifestyle needs and how they think about it. Mm.
So the positives coming out of this, of course, it allows for some variability, the living annuity that is, but there surely should be some shortcomings or disadvantages. What are those, specifically when it comes to a living annuity?
Right. The principal disadvantage of a living annuity, and let's not talk about it as a disadvantage. The principal shortcoming of a living annuity is if it is not managed correctly. So if a client who has a lump sum says, I want as much income as possible, and a financial planner says, well, I'll put 17.5% of the income into your bank account every month, that will give a nice average income every month, but it will affect the capital, because at the moment you cannot achieve a net return on your capital of 17.5%. It's just not happening. Investment returns in 2016 were more or less flat-lined. Mm. So in a situation like that, you draw 17.5% from an investment that is not performing at 17.5%, you will have capital depreciation. Mm. And what will happen in reality is that 17.5% of X this year maybe 17.5% of X minus next year. So the income will reduce even though they're still paying you 17.5%. So the biggest caveat when it comes to a living annuity is ensure that the income that you are drawing is less than the returns that the capital that is creating that income is achieving. And that is the critical thing. And that is why you cannot sell a living annuity and walk away. It has to be a relationship with your client that lasts and lasts and lasts, because the responsibility of that lifestyle financial planner is to ensure that his client has capital and has income for the foreseeable future.
Let me put you on the spot. I mean, just based on the conversation that we're having, could one make an argument that the traditional annuities as we know them would start phasing out as we move towards living annuities that are more responsive to lifestyle stages of the retirees?
You're absolutely right. The traditional type of annuity has almost become redundant. I, in my personal capacity, haven't seen a conventional annuity sold for a long, long time. But that's in my organization, which does the regular reviews and communication with the client. I'm quite sure they are still sold because they're still available, but the vast majority of people are retiring on the living annuity concept.
Good place to leave it. Thank you so much for your time. That is David Crossley. He is Business Manager, BDO South Africa. Until next time, for myself and the rest of the New Retirement Thinking team, goodbye.